Hey everybody, welcome to one of the first calls. This is actually the first call of a series that we're going to do every single month, where we have members, inner circle members, leading the conversation and teaching PPC best practices. We have a lot of very talented sellers and agency owners in the inner circle. We're a place where everyone comes to level up and to share, and so I am happy to have Drew Hart with us today, Inner Circle member and more recently agency owner. How's it going, Drew?
Really good, man. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
So pretty incredible journey. You started because you were curious about this whole Amazon thing. I mean, you're going on maybe 18 months in the Inner Circle now.
Yeah, that's right. This is my second year in the Inner Circle. It all started out with this. I was walking around my neighborhood and I had an idea around a product that would help keep a gutter off of the ground, off of grass. These are like first world problems. And so me and one of my buddies were like, hey, can we build this and sell it? And we're like, yeah, we just sell it on Amazon. We knew nothing like at all. But we knew it'd be manufactured cheap, and we knew it was kind of a cool product, and like all these first world problem people in the US would buy it if we could do it. Then we started digging in, and then we dug in, and then we dug in, and we're like, holy shit, this thing is like really complex, and there's no way we're gonna be able to sell this thing and make any money. But we learned a lot along the way. So we started thinking like, well, what else should we sell? Because that product just didn't have any margin to it. And so from there, we partnered up. We launched our first product like almost 2 years ago. That's like going really, really well. We're number one in our niche. We're about to launch product number 2, which has taken us a while. I know you know the history of that one. But then like somewhere about half the way, all of that was like moonlighting. You know, it still had a full-time job. I was a management consultant, working on really cool data and analytics projects. But what ended up happening was I just got really tired of like splitting my life between e-commerce and learning all the stuff around e-commerce, Amazon, and then doing all this enterprise work. So at the end of the day, I started helping other sellers out with their PPC, just kind of pro bono on the side. And I was like, hey, I'm not bad at this. I'm not super great, but I'm not bad at this. I'm just going to go start my own business, kind of leverage that management consulting background and then all this PPC stuff that I was learning. And, you know, fast forward now, that was like August of last year was when I fully quit my job. But, you know, I was helping out other folks like that for like 6 months before then. And yeah, now we have like, we're managing over 300,000 in ad spend. We've got really, really big clients with really challenging problems. Like we're really doing this, and it's working out really well. And I'm going to share with you guys today some really cool concepts and stuff that we literally share with our clients that our clients get really attached to, and they are successful.
Yeah, what I love about this is that, you know, you started your first product for, you know, we're not going to share what the product is, but it's very seasonal. It's very for cold weather.
Yeah.
And so and it's a very small niche. So you end up with like a very focused idea of how to do PPC with that data set, with that niche. And that's different. And PPC is very different from niche to niche, from competitiveness, from seasonality, from broad keywords, from generic keywords to very long tail exact keywords and match
On
types and
Amazon,
placements.
yeah, on Amazon, off Amazon strategies.
Yeah.
Like,
And so
really big.
and what was great is that when you started helping out others, you were exposed to more and more data, and kind of, you know, you're not charging them, you're just figuring it out as you go, because you know the basics and the fundamentals from being an Inner Circle member and messing around with your own stuff.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you were able to get more experience, more data, more trial and error, and see what works, what doesn't work. And what's interesting is how PPC is very dependent on a lot of other factors, right? So you have external factors to what you're doing that influence the performance of the PPC, and that could be difficult for people who only learn PPC to grasp, right? You need a holistic approach, and that's your background with learning the Inner Circle methods, finding, developing, launching a product. You kind of learned all of that along the way, learning PickFood, learning images, learning content optimization, things impact. Now you've got even more experience. I'm super, super excited to see what you've learned and picked up over the last year and a half, more than, or more than a year now that you've been helping other people, and what you're able to share with us today. So thank you for your being generous with your time and sharing it with us.
Yeah, right on, man. There's a lot of things you said there too that I'll connect the dots when we go through the presentation. But before we get into it, like to your point, 2 years ago, brand new Amazon seller and really knew nothing. Anything I could grab off of YouTube or listening to podcasts or reading articles on blogs and things. That's where I started. Then came into the inner circle, had a abundancy kind of mindset where just like sharing tools and things with the group, and then everybody else is kind of doing the same thing, knowledge, tools, whatever it was. That was super duper helpful. There's no way I would have learned as quickly. I would have made a lot of mistakes to learn. I would still have learned them, but it just would have been longer and with more failures in the middle. And now, like, you think about things like things I learned about, to your point, like listing optimization, what matters to shoppers from a listing perspective, value perspective. And this is all on the sell side. There's all of the selecting and the sourcing components too, but we're going to focus on selling. So you got anything else? I'll just dive right in.
No, go for it.
Cool. So the name of our agency is Vinculum. Vinculum is like that little line that goes in between a numerator and a denominator for like a metric, which is why we're named that. But today what we're going to talk about is I'm going to talk about a conversion rate and ACOS primer, and actually to really just talk about that relationship between a product listing and PPC performance. This is basically everything Brandon just talked about, where like if you don't have a good offer and you don't have your product listing page set up correctly, PPC is going to suck. For a lot of like the whole thing will suck, but PPC will be very, very difficult. And then I want to talk a little bit about how we look at segmenting your targets. And what we call a target, and this is a common term, but a target is like a keyword or like a competitor product listing. Then what we're going to do, once we kind of have a sort of like the context around like how these things affect PPC, then we're going to talk about a PPC launch and like our playbook and how we implement it. There's no surprise here. Our PPC playbook is essentially the same playbook that is taught and shared within the inner circle. And then once you launch, a new product or a new campaign, I want to talk a little bit about expectations around the performance characteristics and what you could kind of expect. So given the fact that we're an agency and we have access to, a large number of clients across a large number of niches, all in different stages in terms of their life cycle, we have a really good insight in terms of like what might be helpful for you to understand is how to be successful for yourself. So let me kind of just dive in. So we want to talk about the relationship between listing optimizations and PPC performance. And what I really want to call out is when we look at one of the key performance metrics for PPC, we call it target, or we call it ACOS, but other people use ROAS, and ROAS and ACOS are identical. They're literally just an inversion of each other. And I'm using the formula for ROAS, and the reason I am is because it helps me with communicating this idea of a conversion rate and how it affects this key performance metric. I don't have to like flip the things around. So just know that this is the same for ROAS or same for ACOS. But if you take a look at this formula, and I know this is like nerd talk, but I'm actually going to relate this to like behavior, which is the cool part. So you really want to understand like, okay, well, like, how well is my stuff performing? And all you really got to work with is data to do that. So if we take a look at the conversion rate, it really is a user related metric, but you as a seller have a tremendous amount of influence around what you can put forward to try to affect that user behavior. If you think about clicks are going to be mostly impacted by like your price, your star rating, the number of reviews that you have, your hero image, and your title. And so making sure that like those things are like in the right place or at the right level. You do have some control over those things, but that starts the journey for the shopper, right? They're going to type a search term in, and then they're going to click on it. Once they click on it, then they're going to see the product listing. The other thing, I didn't actually put this in here, the other thing that actually is affected by conversion rate besides your product listing is the target relevancy. So if you think about an example, like we'll just use the diaper caddy example, or I don't know, Brandon, if there's like a more relevant one that you guys are using these days, but if people are looking for like diaper caddy and they type that in, if they're actually searching for something like a diaper bin, that's going to be very different, even though it sounds similar. The diaper caddy and the diaper bin will convert differently depending on what product you're selling. And that matters too. And how we'll use that and like the data is we'll actually go look at a keyword where we absolutely know that this is our product and we know that our listing looks pretty good. Once we know our listing looks really good, we can now infer like whether or not a keyword has relevancy for you or not, or for your product. And we can do it because we know the user behavior. If we know that like the clicks and the orders are affected by that user behavior, but you've got diaper bin, diaper caddy. Another good example is actually like a dog vitamin or dog supplement or dog probiotic. You might think that your product is all three of those. Well, shoppers won't. Shoppers will think that like you're only a dog vitamin or you're only a dog supplement. And you'll see if you're able to segment the data, you can actually see very quickly that you convert really well with any keyword with the words dog and vitamin in it, but you perform maybe half as well for dog and supplement. And what that tells me as a person who's like analyzing PPC data is that you're a dog vitamin, you're not a dog supplement, unless you make updates to your listing and you make it more clear to customers who you are. So then you look at the average order value as the other part. This is like a seller related metric. This is price, right? Now we call it average order value because Amazon will actually give you attributable sales for products that are purchased that maybe you didn't include it in your advertisement, but people bought it anyway. But basically this is price and you can affect shopper demand that way. And then cost per click, that is a competitor related metric. As a PPC agency, yes, we control cost per click because that's what we do. But we're doing that under the guise of what are your goals, what's your financial position, and we're also doing it in relationship to, you guys don't see the screen?
No, we didn't have you sharing.
Weird. It was showing screen shared here. Well, let me fix that. Can you guys see it now?
Now it's shared. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this would have been so much more helpful if you guys would have seen this.
Yeah, I thought it was a conversation.
All right.
Rewind and just go through the slides very quickly.
Sure. Yeah. So sorry about that, folks. So, you guys can like whatever, take a screenshot and then reverse back and go get all that first part or something. But basically, like when you're looking at the formula for ACOS or ROAS, is just literally what's shown here. You're going to see the conversion rates driven by what you do for the product offer. And so Brandon earlier was talking about how important it is to get your listing right. You got to get your listing freaking optimized. I mean, it has to be very, very good. The competitive nature on Amazon, it must be at a super high order. If it's not, and your competitors have a much better listing, that their shoppers understand, what's the value, what questions can they answer, what objections are they addressing. If those things aren't adequately done on your listing, but they are done better on a competitor's listing, they're going to convert better. Price is another component. Ratings and reviews, as you guys know, those are also big factors that drive it as well. So depending on the maturity or the life cycle of your product, you may not have very many reviews. So you try to make that up in price. When you look at the other component of this key performance metrics like ACOS or ROAS, which is what you use to manage PPC, the average order value, you're really just going to want to focus in, the controls that you have as a seller is really about price. And then on the cost per click, everyone assumes that like a PPC, if you're new to working with a PPC agency, they're just assume that we produce magic and all we do is just like dial the cost per click in and that's all we do. It's not. Can't underscore enough. The left part of that formula is very much not related to PPC and very much not related to an agency. That is related to how good your offer is in the marketplace. And again, if it's not dialed in, it makes a PPC agency's job really, really hard. When we're working with clients, this is a slide that we actually go through with them to make sure that they understand it. We audit their account before we start working with them. If they want to work with us, we make the call outs that they need to make updates to their listing. Otherwise, their performance won't be what they expect it to be. So this kind of sets the stage when we think about like doing an actual launch through PPC. Because again, if your listing isn't great, you're looking at the math for why that's the case. So let me make sure I put the chat back up here. So if you guys are asking questions. All right. So any questions on that? If you do, just, shoot them in the chat and I'll come back to that. So the next piece to this is segmentation. So when I was a new seller and I was asking people questions, the one thing I really wanted to know was like, well, what should my target ACOS be? I know how to calculate break even. It's like, great, cool. We'll use that as your target ACOS, or use something a little bit more towards the profitability side. But the reality is like when you start out with a set of keywords, some of the large accounts that we work with where we're inheriting, a pretty mature catalog of products, they'll have branded terms like, Nike or Adidas or whatever it is. And those are going to convert at an incredibly good rate. And the reason is because someone's already bought their product. They're literally going to Amazon to go repurchase it, and they have hyper intent to go and make that purchase. But if you're doing a product launch and you're a new Amazon seller, you're going to be working off and then competitors the exact opposite, by the way. If you're like actually wanting to go target your competitors, some people do, it's very expensive. You get the exact opposite effect. You have a super high expense because you're trying to steal a sale from somebody who is trying to go find a Nike shoe. Or an Adidas shoe, and you're trying to sell them the Nike shoe. But then there's these other two categories or segments called strategic and category. Strategic keywords is a little bit nebulous. And these are our terms, like how we describe them, but they're generally relevant keywords that have super high search volume. So like, what do we mean by that? Well, let me talk about category. Category ones are longer tail and they're highly relevant. So what's the comparison between these two? Category keywords are going to be something like tea tree oil, shampoo, and conditioner, right? Somebody who's searching for tea tree oil, shampoo, and conditioner is hyper intent on finding something that's got tea tree oil in it. But if someone's going into Amazon and they're searching for shampoo and conditioner, it's a lot more general. They're looking for maybe something new. Maybe they don't know what they want to look for. Maybe they're looking for like a trend or whatever it might be, but they don't have the same level of intent in terms of what they might be looking for. They may be using it to discover, what kind of products show up, and then they refine their search. Or because they're kind of like in this like shopper discovery mode, they may actually go click and buy right from there. But the reason I bring this up is what you want to pay attention to is the idea that for strategic keywords, they're going to be hyper or relatively high search volume, but your conversion rate is going to be low. And the reason is because if people are looking for shampoo and conditioner, the search results are going to include tea tree oil, coconut oil, apple cider vinegar, all these different types of shampoos, which is exactly why they were searching for it in the first place. They want variety.
I love this slide that you did, Drew. I think that this is, super, super important for people to grasp, because I think that everyone comes into PPC with the impression that every keyword, every placement is the same, but you have to have expectations about how it should perform and then what you're expecting to get out of it. And I really like that you've segmented that here into a chart. I think we can even expand upon this chart, and you and I can work on that.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you're thinking there, Brandon, because we actually segment our data, our clients' data this way.
Yeah,
and what's really
absolutely.
cool.
And there are even more factors that we can take into consideration. And you and I can connect on that. I do have to run because of an emergency, so I'm going to miss the rest of this live. You have Andy and Sarah on. I apologize for that, but I'll catch up with you shortly. Thank you.
Good luck. So to Brandon's point, we'll have clients come in and start working with us, and what we'll see is that they've got an ACOS. These are beauty brands. These are highly competitive markets. They have an average ACOS of like 18%, 22%. And if you didn't know this background in this context, you'd be like, well, like how do they do this? They're just killing it. The reason is because they're spending $500 on branded terms and generating $10,000 in sales off branded terms. But if you strip that away and you get rid of all their branded, you'll find very quickly that their category and strategic keywords are just like everybody else's. They float right around 60, 40, 45 would be amazing, but 50, 55, 60% for that. Our clients, when we're working with them, they actually don't know this. And so when we educate them on this, we use it to set expectations, because when we're going and launching product campaigns, which we'll switch to in a second, we need to make sure that they understand that the performance of what they're asking us to do is going to be X, not 20%. So in any case, it's a very important piece of context to understand as we talk about, the topic du jour. Okay, so product launch playbook. This is really just a one-pager. And for those of you who are familiar with sort of like how to launch products already, or, done the homework, maybe you haven't done a launch, but you've done the homework within the group and you understand the components. This is really just a distilled down version in terms of how we think about it. The actual specific execution and things like that, I'm not really going to get into that. If you guys have questions about it, feel free to ask at the end, write them down. And then I can answer any real specific, like detailed technical type of things. But, the launch phase, this is broken up into 3 parts. So launch, grow, profitability. We broke launch up into kind of 2 parts. Each of these timeframes and things, just take them with a grain of salt. This is just a guide, an illustration more than anything else. It's not intended to be explicitly prescriptive. If you were in a slow moving niche, this might be perfect for you. If you were in supplements, this might be twice as long for you, maybe even more. So let's start talking through this. So on the launch phase for 1 and 2, your first goal is really just make sure your product is actually indexed correctly for Amazon. So that's making sure that, like, once you go live with your listing, that you've got to check in some way to go make sure that Amazon, because it's a computer, it actually knows that, like, you're a dog vitamin or you're a shampoo and conditioner product. You can do that really quickly and easy by just going into Amazon and creating a brand new campaign and getting their automatic suggestions. If their automatic suggestions are your product, then you've been indexed correctly. Your goals for this first phase, first like week or 2, is literally clicks and orders. You're not really caring about anything else. You'll notice I do not have the target ACOS in there or ACOS in there. You want to set a very high budget. You do not want to run out of money. You're going to make sure that it's like for a very short period of time. You're focused on impressions, clicks, and orders. You're just looking at those all the time. We throw in keyword rank in there as well, because you should start getting a reference point for, like, where are you ranked? Because you're going to be in a honeymoon period, Amazon's going to give you a benefit. So you will actually rank higher with very little juice or effort put behind it, but you're going to need that because you want to try and generate sales velocity as quickly as possible. You're also going to be challenged because you don't have any reviews, which means you don't have any ratings, and you probably won't, like when you literally start, you won't even have a star rating. So types of things you're going to want to be focused on is, for keywords, you're going to want to be identified the most relevant and highest search volume keywords. Typically, it's like no more than 10 keywords, period. 10 might be on the high side. Many of our launches are 5 to 8. If a client's got a pretty decent budget, we might expand it out to 12, but we really don't go beyond that. We will create a whole list of all the keywords that we want to go after throughout the entire launch period, but we'll only go after those like top 10 during this first week or 2. So we also implement product targeting. We'll go do the research and get all of the products that we think are the competitors. It's very important to make sure that you get competitors that are as similar to you as possible. So, you're not going to go, if you're launching a shampoo product, you're not going to go target, coconut shampoo. If you're selling tea tree oil shampoo, get tea tree oil shampoo. If you're selling a 16-ounce bottle, don't go target an 8-ounce bottle. Don't go target a 22-ounce bottle. Go target a 16-ounce bottle. You want to try and get this thing to be as similar to your product as possible. And you may only have like 3 or 4 products if you're in a really small niche. But typically for us, like we'll easily find 5, 10 products that are competitors. We'll take that list, we'll sort it by price, or we'll sort it by ratings. And then we'll try and target those that are priced higher than what we want to be. But because you're probably going to launch with a really low price, most everybody's going to be more expensive than you. So sorting by lowest ratings, like people that are at 4 stars or 3, nobody has 3 stars, but like anything that has like 4.5 or 4 stars, start with the 4s and then move up to 4.5 later. You're going to want to define a launch target ACOS at this stage, but it doesn't mean you're going to use it in this first week or like 10-day period when you're launching on PPC. For the most important keywords, the ones that you know are high search volume, you're going to want to put a top of search placement modifier. You want to be at the top of the page on Amazon. You're going to pay for an advertising slot to do that. And the reason you are is you're going to get clicks and orders. You need to get orders. You can't get reviews without orders. You'll be dead in the water if you don't get orders. Get orders. And then you're going to monitor the rank. So the next piece is, going through like kind of now you've kind of launched your like first week, middle of the second week. Your goals are really going to continue to be driving clicks and orders. You want to make sure that you're starting to rank and see ranking improve on your strategic keywords. Those strategic keywords you covered before, those are your highest search volume ones. You're trying to achieve and get to over 10 reviews in the first first two weeks, 3 weeks. And guys, again, this is a guide. So like if you've got a slow velocity market, you're not going to be able to get 10 reviews. Your ratio for reviews to sales should not be above 10% at this point. You probably can go to 10%, but you might be in the yellow in terms of alerting Amazon to review manipulation. The typical range is like 5 to 8%. That's what you kind of want to target. So when you want to like look at your sales, just kind of benchmark, am I in that 10%, 8%, 5% range? If you are, you're kind of healthy. And then because we define the target ACOS for what your launch should be, you're actually going to define your ideal ACOS. You're going to want to be around 3 to 5% your ideal ACOS. So your ideal ACOS is probably like what you'll end up with like at the end of profitability or somewhere in the middle of that profitability stage. So let's say that ACOS needs to be 40%. Your ACOS during this period would need to be 120 to 200%. And those are legit numbers. For metrics, again, you're always looking at impressions, clicks, and orders. You'll see that carries through on each of those columns. Now you're starting to review or track your reviews, your ratings, and again, your keyword rank. You're going to start to, ratchet down and start to manage around your budget. That first week, we're kind of not. I mean, we're not just like lighting money on fire. We're trying to spend it in like really intelligent ways, but I don't want to restrict a product in stage one to get orders if I can, especially if I'm starting to see them come in. I'm definitely going to want to continue to fuel that fire. You're going to start to look at conversion rate, and you're definitely going to start looking at ACOS. I don't know how much attention you'll be giving it. You don't have reviews, or you've got very low reviews and ratings. Abe, it could be target ROAS or ACOS, whichever one. It doesn't matter, like whichever one you want to choose. We work with ACOS, so it's a good call out. If you guys prefer to use ROAS, then use ROAS. And if that didn't answer your question, Abe, just let me know. And then, you're just going to continue to, we'll talk about it at the end, Abe, just bring it up at the end. I'll be happy to talk about that. And then you're going to you can consider launching a broad phrase and auto campaigns. We're still heavily focused on the exact at this point, but we'll kick off like maybe a $10 or $5 per day budget on broad phrase and auto, just to start Amazon starting to churn and start getting its algorithm fired up. But at some point you will fire those off and actually legitimately run them as you go into the grow phase. Next, you're going to continue to monitor rank. Surprise. So it starts to get pretty repetitive as we start moving into the growth and profitability. So I'll just call out the deltas here. Here in the growth phase, you should start seeing ACOS come down. Like 2x to 4x is probably a good benchmark to kind of consider. But keep in mind, like you're at week 5, 6, 7 in this range, and you're still not at your target ACOS or your target ROAS. And so you're still spending, maybe a break even at this point. So I didn't put this in here, but you should totally look at it. In fact, I'll just add it here right now. You should also be looking at tacos and just seeing like, are you at least achieving break even in a blended fashion between organic and PPC. Other than that, you're going to start really paying close attention to any wasted spend. These are things where it depends on your market, but where you get a lot of clicks and no orders. We've got customers that can literally get 50 clicks, 60 clicks and like one order, and they're actually hitting their target ACOS. We've got other clients where if they get to 10 or 12, like it's, that keyword's probably indicating it's not going to convert. And then beyond that, keep in mind, like your early stage, you still have low reviews. If you do have keywords that you're choosing to go ahead and like remove, either pause or whatever, if you think that they're actually relevant, but they're just not converting for you, make a note, like keep a list of those keywords that you think that you should convert, because you can come back to them in month 4 or 5 and retry them when you have a lot more reviews. You're now going to maybe expand on your list for widening your targets on the exact. So like when we were in stage 1, we were really focused on like maybe the top 10 keywords. Now you're trying to look at, okay, well, now I'm going to expand out to the next set of 10 or 15 keywords, and then go to the next tranche of ASINs that you might want to be targeting as well. You're always going to be looking to make sure that like you're validating your listing copy and any of the PPC keywords to make sure that you're kind of aligned there. We were talking about an example earlier where we've got a client that sells a dog vitamin. In their listing title, they advertise that they're a supplement as well as a probiotic, and they convert much differently, actually much lower for supplement and probiotic. So this is an opportunity now that you've got good data, you can start to make some insights like, well, what do shoppers think of about my product, and how am I aligning my listing to what people are buying? And does that make sense? And then from there, you have to make assessments and subjective on like what you might need to do to make changes to your listing to make it more aligned. You might want to start considering additional ad types. This is probably a little early, or probably on the later stage of grow. Arguably, this should probably be in profitability stage, but depending on your product, depending how big your catalog is, you might want to consider implementing sponsor brands and sponsor display as well. Amazon offers these tools. It's more real estate for you to get more eyeballs on your products. There's a lot of good strategic reasons for why you might want to consider it. If you are doing it and you don't know what you're doing, or these things are new to you, go talk to somebody and figure out like if it's the right fit for you, because you could spend money and not get the results you're looking for. You want to make sure that you're defining your break-even and profitability target ACOS if you haven't already done it. And then finally, we're moving into the profitability stage. Here, you're looking for your target ACOS to be 1 to 1.5x. And obviously, you're trying to get down to 1 over this time period. But everything else is pretty much the same. You're still going to continue to manage your ACOS. You're going to have your research campaigns, which is your broad phrase and auto campaigns in play. You're going to harvest those. You're going to manage your wasted spend. And then reviews and everything else should be self-sustaining at this point. So that's kind of like the product launch playbook in a nutshell. Kind of just rambling through that really quickly. I'm sure people have questions or comments on this. So I guess I'll talk lastly about sort of like, excuse me, what to expect out of campaign performance. So again, we're looking at that launch, grow, profitability phase. Really quick note, this is big data. I just wanted to make it really clear for people to kind of like get a sense for like what to expect. At the top row, I'll kind of like walk you through this slide. You've got the launch phase, the growth phase, and the profit phase. You've got the number of targets. So this is like, for instance, this would be the number of keywords that you'd have in a campaign, but it could also be product targets as well. Well, what you'll do is you'll launch and you'll get a whole bunch of clicks and you'll get very few orders. And that's because we don't know of the 8 keywords that we launch, which ones you'll actually convert on and which ones will convert, but maybe convert less poorly, or ones that won't convert at all. Even though we did all of our homework and we got it really dialed in and we really think that we know what we're doing, in terms of the research that we're putting into this, not everything's going to work. It's very typical. So you're not going to have all the insights or data to figure that out on week number 1. But week number 2, you might have some insights, maybe not. By week 3, you might have your first insights and you decide one of the targets in your campaign really isn't working out. And so you're going to go ahead and pause it. And what that's going to do is just going to reduce clicks, and you're still going to, theoretically, you're still going to get all the orders that are still coming in. And other keywords are bringing in more orders and they're bringing in clicks. So as you can see over time, what we're doing is we're looking at the keyword targets that are in this fictitious campaign. We're trying to identify whether or not these keywords are getting clicks but no orders, or they're just not performing very well. And then based on the data, we're making a judgment call saying like, okay, I've got 10 clicks and no orders. I'm going to pause this keyword. And you're doing that basically in 1 to 2 week increments. Here, I'm making it 3 weeks to make the point that it doesn't happen in a couple days. When I was a new seller and I was doing this for the first time, I was checking this like multiple times per day. I was like very, very focused on managing my PPC. But the reality is, you probably should be looking at it like every 2 to 4 days at the earliest. But don't make decisions with any more than like a 1 week kind of window as a general rule. If you've got a really high velocity market and you're spending a lot of money doing it, obviously you don't need to wait a week for that. You can probably just wait a couple days to get enough data. But the whole point is, you got to know through like having enough clicks and having enough orders or lack of orders to know whether or not a keyword is doing really, really poorly, just kind of like maybe inefficient or slightly irrelevant, or just like crushing it. So the rest of the slide is really just, just showing you that like it takes time to figure that out. You can see here, this blue line represents ACOS. If you needed to invert this, it would be ROAS, it would be going upwards. And you'll see that the ACOS just starts coming down, 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 down until it gets kind of that ideal state where, again, I'm just making this up, or it is an illustration, that this is kind of like how a typical well-performing campaign would actually look like over time. So that's kind of it. That's kind of just what I wanted to share with you guys today, giving you the launch playbook. And then, I set the context with those 2 slides around segmentation and conversion rate to bring it all together. You don't get a campaign performance like this, and it's very difficult for you to make decisions on what targets are irrelevant if you don't have a really good product listing. If your product listing is suboptimal, there's lots of reasons for why people will not want to like convert on your listing, and it may not necessarily be keyword related. It could very much be listing related. So I'll stop there and then let you guys know, just ask questions or let me know what you think.
That was awesome, Drew. Thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, please go ahead and raise your hands. And I'm sure Andy's got some comments on that, so I will just mute.
No, amazing job, Drew. Bravo, bravo. Everyone in the comments is saying like, oh, wow, we're blown away and so on and so forth. So we've got a bunch of questions. I'd like to ask folks the usual protocol, please, which is if you can just raise your hand. You'll find that under reactions. If you go and click on that at the bottom of the screen, there's all those nice sexy little buttons. If you press reactions, you'll see raise hand clearly shown there. And then we can obviously sequence the questions into Drew properly. And then equally, obviously, we can go through a couple that may have cropped up in the chat, and for whatever reason, folks can't come on camera or whatever. So if it's okay, let's take it away. Maybe Brian, can you go first?
Yeah, Zeus, we got 2
okay with questions. Drew?
Hey, Drew, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Brian?
Hey, thanks so much for that great presentation. Really, really great. So yeah, I posted my questions here in chat, but I was just curious on those targets. Are those like a representation of exact match keyword quantities or something different? And then if that's, and just kind of explain that to me.
Yeah, so just to make sure I understand your question. So you're asking like in this fictitious campaign example, or are you asking like, what's the difference between like an exact profile versus like a broad phrase profile?
Well, I'm asking like when you're saying number of targets, like just define that.
Oh,
then,
sure.
Yeah, I am asking in this hypothetical example, are those number of targets something usual, or is that just totally at random?
We will, I mean, very rarely will we want to try and put a campaign with above 10 targets. We might go 15. It depends on the budget. The reason we see campaigns come in, not joking, like hundreds of keywords, and they have $100 daily budget. There's no way if you've got a cost per click of $1.50, which is low, that they're getting good spend. And so you'll see like all of the campaign will start to zero in on like 3 or 4 or 5 top keywords. But like, so you want to make sure if you're going to budget, if you want to give a keyword breathing room, you want to have fewer keywords in the campaign. So Anthony Nugent in the group, he and I are totally aligned on this. He recommends to put like your strategic keywords into a single keyword campaign. So you would see 1 up here across this entire row. And that would be like tea tree oil, shampoo, and conditioner, highly targeted, a lot of search volume. It's exactly what your product is. And that's all you're doing. And you're going to give it $20 a day in budget. When you get to your groupings where you might want to add 5, 8, 10 keywords, most people I don't think would recommend you go above 10. you're doing that because you want to take like a 20, 30 day or $30 per budget campaign, and you want to give that budget out to each of those keywords because you're not sure which one's going to perform. You should know the single keyword campaigns. The expectation is that those will perform for you.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. Yeah. And I know and respect Anthony as well. So thanks for bringing him up.
Yeah, right on. Okay. And then there was one other question, Zeus, from Courtney in the chat here.
Sure. Courtney, you on the call?
Hey there, I am. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, thanks so much for the presentation. This is fantastic. I was really just wondering around the keywords. Do you have guidelines around how to decide when a keyword is quote unquote low performing? Is there a certain period of time, or I understand each category is going to have different KPIs?
Yeah, it's tough. I'll give you some examples here. I'm just going to whip one up here. It's a good call. You're gonna help me build a new slide, Courtney, with your question. If you have like a cost per click of, let's say, like 51 cents, okay, this is not unrealistic. This is actually off of a client that I know. And you've got 60 clicks, but your price point is $45. You're gonna have, and then you're gonna need a conversion rate in here. You're gonna say a conversion rate of, let's say 15, I don't know if it's gonna work out, conversion rate of 15%. Your acquisition cost is gonna be, clicks times this. Your acquisition cost is going to be $4.59, but look at how big those clicks are. 60 clicks, one order. Okay, I don't have it written out here, but this is for one order. So that means that my ACOS is going to be 10%. Now for a completely different product, so this is like for like a high price, niche market. I mean, you got to know that like 60 clicks is kind of your upper threshold. But if you're doing something more typical of like what people talk about when you're like learning PPC concepts, your price might be $19.99 and your cost per click might be $1.50. Look at the ACOS, 680%. Oh, I did the wrong number. Sorry. That's why I'm like, wait, what? 70%. So here your cutoff might be like 15 before you're like deciding like you want to get rid of it, or 16. Or maybe not, maybe that's wrong. Maybe it's like 20. But the point is like the idea here is that like let's see, a $25 product. Conversion rate there. Yeah, because you're not going to be converting well on this at all. So let me do this real quick. Yeah, so let me follow up with you, Courtney, because I'm trying to like throw this math together really quickly, but
Yeah.
To answer it more generically, I'll post something in the group for this. I'll throw a spreadsheet together that will take this mess and make it cleaned up. But what I would say is, for products that have a lot of velocity, they generally have like a lower price point, a high cost per click. You just assume the conversion rates are like kind of equal across the board. Those are you're gonna know more quickly with the clicks that people aren't interested in buying your product based on that keyword. Now, keep in mind, like I'm assuming that your product listing is like really dialed in with this statement. If your listing has like crappy, low fidelity images, you don't really talk about your features. You're not addressing like obvious objections, that shoppers would have about fears and uncertainties and doubts about buying a product. If you don't have those in, that could be why you got a really low conversion rate and you're not getting orders, but you got a lot of clicks. So you have to keep that in mind. Like if assuming that your product listing is really dialed in, then it becomes a relevancy issue. And it's, or maybe a pricing issue. There could be other factors associated with this, but then it becomes related to like, okay, well, am I targeting shampoo and conditioner, or am I targeting tea tree oil and shampoo and conditioner? Something more vague versus something more specific.
That's helpful. Thank you, Drew, for the conversation. And sorry to have you make a spreadsheet right in the middle of the presentation, but thank
No,
you.
that's what I do. This is what I do. But I hope that makes sense. I mean, I'm not sure I'm answering your question with the same amount, with the precision that you're looking for, but if it doesn't make sense, just, DM me or whatever, and I can help you with it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Great job, mate. I'm impressed. You're making stuff up on the fly. Formulas on the fly and stuff. Not
Yeah,
easy.
look, wizardry. It's wizardry.
Yeah, indeed. Everyone's blown away. To be fair to everyone, I think Daniel was next in line with the questions. So Daniel, could you unmute yourself and please ask away?
Hey, Drew, great presentation. Good job.
Thanks, man.
My question is from the launch phrase. Are you targeting sponsored video campaigns or not?
If you've got them, do them. Yeah, they'll convert great. They look awesome. And you also share a lot more context on them. I don't know if they'll have one here. But you get a lot of context out of these videos. Yeah, here, look. So in this instance, like what you'll see here, this company, Garnier, is able to show you content about their product, including value, dealing with objections, whatever. And I've never clicked into the product listing. This type of information that they're able to communicate in a video is the same type of information that you would typically get from the listing images, but they're doing it from the search results. They're doing it from one click beforehand. So that's why these ads are so great, is because one, they're engaging, and like in this instance, this is an outstanding looking advertisement, but you can do this much more cheaply. And as long as you're communicating the right information to the customer, again, what's the value, dealing with objections, I've got a quality product, people will click in here and they'll buy the product.
Is there any difference if you do an exact match, like let's say like you're doing two campaign, one sponsored product with let's say diaper caddy, and then a sponsored video with, can you use a exact match into sponsored video? Does it make any difference or not? No,
I think you should use exact match for them. You can use broad too. I mean, honestly, Daniel, it really just comes down to like how well designed you made your targeting. Like if we talk about these match types in terms of exact, I think most people think like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'm targeting shampoo and conditioner or tea tree oil shampoo and conditioner. And that's exactly what I want to look for. When you do it in the broad context, you're looking for anything that's got a word shampoo or conditioner. And so you're going to go hit all kinds of things with that. You're going to go hit coconut oil shampoo and conditioner. When you're tea tree oil, you're going to hit argan oil, which is like this product right here. And you're not going to convert on those. So if you implement a broad campaign, like on sponsored video or even sponsored products, it doesn't really matter. And you're not thinking through like, well, what are the words that I need to have for those broad campaigns? Then you could be sending your shoppers on a wild goose chase by clicking into your product. And they're like, well, that wasn't what I was looking for in the first place, but it was a cool video. So you want to just make sure that like, if you're going to do broad or phrase and you want to spend your money that way, just do your homework and be thoughtful about like how you're structuring the design of those campaigns by including the words that you need to include to still stay relevant, but also explore what other words might be out there that you haven't thought of yet.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan. Next up, I believe we have Abe. How you
Hey,
doing, Abe?
I haven't talked to you in a long time, man. I hope you're well.
Yeah, what's going on, Drew? How are you?
I'm well.
All right, good. So I wanted to ask you a question. I typed it out before I forgot it, but I'll just like sort of read it. So I actually have two questions there. The first one is, how different is this when you're relaunching a product? If you have a product which has been around a while and it's sort of stagnant and you want to boost it, how different would your process look from what you just described? What you described as something of brand new on day one.
Why would you relaunch? I need the context to answer the question. Why are you relaunching this product? Like what's the historical context around it?
So if you have an agency and somebody comes to you and says, take over my PPC, and they've got a product that exists already and it's not doing great, or
Sure.
It used to do better in the past, that would be a relaunching situation.
Now, is it not doing well from a PPC performance perspective, or it's not doing well because like ratings are clearly like it's 4-star or worse?
I mean, this is theoretical, I guess, but say the reviews are good and it just hasn't been given the right attention up until then.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think you can, I mean, here's my philosophy. I know other people have different philosophies on this. I'd probably go look at the historical performance of, you know, like look at the search term impression report on the product. Let's assume that it's a dialed in listing. Let's start there. Let's assume it's a dialed in listing. And if it's not, I'm going to start on the conversion side first. I'm going to go to the client and say, look, you want me to reboost this product, but you know, I got to be honest with you, like you're not addressing any of the things that are best practices for the product listing, or these are the 3 things that you need to address as best practices, and have a conversation around how do we stop the leaky bucket when people get to the product listing page, because I can continue to spend PPC, reorganize the campaigns, do better research on targeting, all that good work. But if people literally are just not buying it because they don't get their questions or concerns answered, then, you know, I'm not really doing a good job as an agency or working with that client. So I would start with that, but let's assume that it's not the case. Let's assume that the product listing is just fine, but they really don't understand like why it's not performing well. My process would be to go look at the search term impression report and try and get a sense of the performance in the past. I might try and consider the taxonomy of the keywords that are in there. So we were talking about dog vitamin, dog supplement, dog probiotic as an example. We have a client that has all 3 of those words, vitamin, supplement, probiotic, in their title. And so when I segment the data, it's very clear that vitamin performs 2 and 3 times better than supplement and probiotic. So now all my research that I'm going to do when I restructure those campaigns, it's going to be just around vitamin, because I want to come out of the gate with the best chance possible of converting well, which if we know the product listing is good, the next thing becomes, well, are my keywords relevant? And I know based on historical performance that supplements and probiotics are not relevant. So I'm only going to focus on vitamin related words. I did see your question about the segmenting into different campaigns. I don't resegment. So if we inherit an account and they have like, you know, 15 or 20 keywords in there, and they are, you know, that campaign's performing really well. If there's keywords in there that aren't getting any impressions, I'll pause those and recreate that group. We have one client right now we're working through that literally has 180, 70, 60, 50, 40 keyword targets in their campaigns, and none of them are getting, like, there's so many keywords that just like are not getting impressions. We will eventually go in there and then take that bottom tranche that's not getting impressions or clicks, pull them out and give them life in a new campaign.
Yeah, that's typically what I do also. But like my question was a little bit different. Once you've got that 150 keywords, you know, because over time, all the broad and phrase match will give you different targets to start working on. But once you've got all those and you have a big number of keywords, will you end up segmenting those all, you know, will they all grow by like 10, 15 keywords at a time per campaign?
Yeah, we don't. So when I talk about segmentation, so like for us to segment things like vitamins, supplements, and probiotics, we'll start with like, with literally just using regex to go and like identify those keywords to and analyze it. If we see something that's compelling that would justify restructuring, we'll totally do it. Otherwise, we're just looking at the data and just making better informed bid decisions based on the segmentation, but not necessarily restructuring the whole thing. But let me look at your question here. So then 3x for broad, phrase, exact, 100 keywords, be at least 30 campaigns. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see a single product ever having 100 keywords. I see a single product maybe having, I don't know, total like 50 performing keywords. I mean, I don't know what you see when you look at the data, but like 80% of the sales volume comes from, you know, 3 to 8 keywords total. You know, maybe 10 or 12, right, total. And then you get really long tail and you're getting into 1 order, 2 orders per month territory really quickly. So probably not. There's always exceptions, but probably not, man.
No, I mean, I think I've seen like more than 10. I've seen lots of situations where there's 30 to 50 delivering keywords, especially when you get into SKUs that sell thousands of units a month. It could be distributed 100%. Over a wider range.
Totally. You know? I think those are like those really large clients though. And, you know, if we've got people on the call that are dealing with that, for sure, I totally agree with you. I'm thinking about like those mid-size, small-size sellers, which I don't know. I'm just thinking that's this group.
Got it. All right. I'm done. I'll let you go on to the next question, but it's always good to.
Thanks for the call, or thanks for the question.
You got it.
Aaron.
Hey, buddy.
It's you, Aaron.
What's up, man?
Hey, a few things. So you were talking about conversion rate before you want to turn off something like before, like more expensive an item it is, the more clicks you let it go. Like that's so true. And then also like if something is a customizable product, I don't know if you've had any of those clients.
I do. Yeah, I've got a client that does
Yeah.
that, heavily customizable.
Yeah, I mean, like conversion rate can be like 1 or 2% or something, like it's pretty low. So I think you have to go let those go. And then the more expensive products, people aren't like pulling the trigger so easily on a $300 item
Yeah.
all the time.
Hey, 1 second here, Aaron. Say, hey, Sarah, Brandon Young just made a note in the chat that he's got a message to you in Messenger that's urgent.
Yeah, I'm on to that. Thanks, Drew. Appreciate that.
Sorry, Aaron.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah, I was just saying that like that's what I've found too, is like you can't like just let those type of products aren't typical of what people in the inner circle are going to launch for their first product.
Totally. That's what I was going to
But
say. Like
I'm
those
saying like, yeah, the rules aren't like hard and fast across everything. That's what I've found.
Not at all. And in fact, like, you know, when you start getting into your launch and stuff, you're gonna have a lot going on. So anything you can do to like remove work so you can look at stuff. Like when we do the research for our product targeting and keyword targeting, we do all that up front because we don't want to be in the middle of a launch or 3 or 4 launches for a client and then having to like go do keyword research in the middle of the launch. There's a lot going on.
My question though is about like sponsored display, specifically like the remarketing ones.
Yeah.
Like views remarketing, views of similar products. If you're not selling a replenishable product like food or shaving cream or whatever, have you implemented these at all? And have you seen any results? And then also the second part of it is broad match modifiers. Have you been using those on sponsored brand campaigns?
Yeah, we use the broad match modifiers. Monsieur had a post, I think you commented on it yesterday.
Yeah.
If you're not using, so let's talk about what broad match modifiers are in the first place. So when you're creating a sponsored brands campaign or a sponsored, I don't think, do they have it for sponsored products, Aaron? I don't know if that's a feature.
I don't think so. Sponsored brands, they have the headline, like the store one, they have the product collection, the video ads. I think you can run video ads to ASINs. You can run video ads to ASINs, but I haven't done it so much.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, let me just do something really quick here.
It's basically when you're running keywords, he's saying, like if your example is diaper caddy, you would be like the letter plus diaper plus caddy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he's saying to do.
Yeah. So for those who don't know what a broad match modifier is, if you do a broad match campaign, you can have any one of those keywords in any one of those orders, but it may not have necessarily all of those keywords.
So you have to normalize the keywords without plurals and then add a plus in addition to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what it enables you to do is like on a sponsored brands campaign, you're going to do like a headline ad to advertise like 3 products that you have. One of them is a tea tree oil shampoo and conditioner. Your if you don't know what all the keywords might be that people are searching for, even though you've got sponsored products running, you may not know all of them. So what you'll do is you'll implement a broad campaign, you'll add a broad match modifier inside of that campaign. And the keywords would be plus tea, plus tree, plus shampoo, plus conditioner. And then what that means, it tells Amazon is like, only let customers who have all 4 of those keywords in any order, but they have to have all 4, please consider putting my advertisement up in front of them when they have any of those search terms. It's just a more efficient way to be more specific, but still be broad.
Yeah, apparently broad in sponsored product campaigns is totally different than broad in sponsored brand campaigns. But when you add that broad match modifier, it makes sponsored brand campaigns similar to sponsored product campaigns.
Got it. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, right on. Okay. Well, that explains it, because my understanding with the sponsored products was that you have to have all of those keywords there anyway, but sponsored brands, it's not. It's like almost an optional broad.
Yeah. It's too broad. So you wind up having a lot of wasted spend. That's been the qualm of it. Like I pretty much stopped running video ads in broad because of that, because it wasn't cost prohibitive. But I think I'm going to try again using broad match modifiers and see if I can't get some like low priced clicks.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because I run sponsored brand video on broad and phrase myself, and the performance is worse than the exact, right? And I was patting myself on the back saying like, wow, good job, Drew. You really figured out that exact match well. And these broad ones just don't perform on Amazon. I throw my hands up and I pause them. But it could be that, and maybe I should have done a deeper dive in the search terms, but it could be just because I didn't add the broad match modifiers. So
yeah, sometimes if you run a sponsored brand search term report and you look at some of the things they're targeting, it's like it can be pretty wacky. Like the things that, like example, you could be selling a board game and they'll target like bath toys or something, like completely, like it's in the same category as toys.
right.
It's not even, there's no buyer intent that's anywhere near what you were targeting as a broad match.
Yeah, totally.
So anyways, I thought I would add that. And
no, I like it. Yeah, it's advanced. I think it's advanced level stuff, but for those of you who are like at that level where you're thinking about sponsored brand and even sponsored display, and I know you asked about sponsored display. Yeah, Amazon's complex, right? This whole notion around like being fully automated is, parts like bid management should be automated because that's just tedious work that a computer can do. But the strategy and the complexity and the managing of like all the moving parts with like inventory in and new product launches, like I don't know how you wouldn't be able to do it with a human. And the thing is like, it's not like Google's been around for so much longer in terms of the search engine to Amazon, and agencies are flourishing. We would see it go fully or automated by now for Google, in my opinion. But anyway, Aaron, I'll take the sponsor display question offline. Is that good with you?
yeah, that's totally fine.
All right, cool.
Thanks, Drew. Next up, I believe, is Nicole. Nicole Lees, how are you doing?
Hello. Hi, Drew. Thank you for that. Really insightful.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of questions.
Oh boy. Well, you're only allowed one, although Aaron did do two.
Okay. One question. 6 months post-launch, is it possible to have too many campaigns? So I feel like maybe I'm spreading my budget too thin. So to give you some context, I'm currently spending $150 a day and I've got 41 campaigns.
Okay.
Do you think that's too many campaigns and that I should try and focus that spend more?
So how many, so you've got say the numbers again, Nicole, I'm doing math on my side here.
So currently got 41 campaigns and spending $150 per day.
And your 150 is the aggregate number across the 41 campaigns.
Correct, yes.
And then how many targets do you have inside total, just so I can get an average?
There's a few single keyword campaigns in there, but no more than 6 keywords in a campaign.
Yeah, I mean, short answer, probably. I'm just looking at the math. So you have $150. Let's pull up the spreadsheet. You have 150 per day. That's 4,500 per month. And then you've got, you said 41 campaigns, and you've got no more than 5 targets per campaigns, 5. So you've got roughly 200 targets.
Yeah, that'd be about right.
I mean, if it's plus or minus 20 or something, it's fine. At least for this purposes. So yeah, so then what's your cost per click on average?
It sits between sort of $2 and $3.
Okay, let's call it 250 just to get a baseline here.
Yeah. I sell a product at $110 in a pretty competitive niche.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. I mean, off the cuff, I'd need to know more information just to give you a fully qualified answer. And I mean this, like, I'm telling you, like, my instinct is the answer to your question is yes, you probably have your budget spread across too many campaigns. But budget is one thing, spend's another. because you can have a budget on a campaign of $100 and you're only spending 45 of it every month or every day. So just look at your spend, and if you're hitting your budget, then you definitely have a consideration for a problem there. That's kind of how I would look at it. If you want, Nicole, I could, maybe we could talk about it offline. You can take a look and just give you a more qualified answer by actually looking at the data.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, next up is Vivek. Vivek, are you there?
Hi, Drew.
Hey, Vivek.
Hello. Hey, Drew. Great presentation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Drew, I wanted to ask, I'm about to launch a product and there are 8 variations in the product. So what I was hoping to do was to divide it into 2 sets, like 4 variations in each set, and launch as 2 different parent SKUs, 4 variations in each parent SKU. So now when I start my PPC for those strategy keywords.
Can I interrupt you real quick, Vivek?
Yeah, sure.
So I'll just stop at you to make sure I get the right context. So 2 parents, 4 variations. What are the variations? Is it, units per, is it like pack size? Is it color? What is it?
It's scent. It's
Scent.
the scents, yes.
Okay. And then what separates the 2 parents from each other? 4 cents and 4 cents. Why would you have 2 and 2?
Just because to gain more retail space on the page.
Okay. Okay. All right. And have you ever launched this product before, or do you have any background information to know like what sells worse or better from any of those scents?
Yes, I have launched this product before. Yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So now if I'm bidding for a strategy keyword on one of the sets, so would it make sense to bid on that same keyword for both those parent SKUs, or should I bid on just one parent SKU on one strategy keyword?
Probably both. Probably both. And I always put a caveat in there, like there could be good reasons for why you don't want to do it, but I don't know what your product is. Everybody don't know what his product is. So I guess your product, Vivek, it's totally circumstantial, but if you're selling candles, scented candles, and you've got them broken up in, 2 parents with 4 variations, and, scented candle is your strategic keyword. You need to be
Correct.
You need to be on that keyword for both of them.
For both of them.
Yeah. Well, for all 8, right? I mean,
For
both,
all 8, yes.
yeah, for both.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And again,
You hit
it's generally speaking.
You hit it exactly right. It was the product candle and the keyword was scented candles.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you, Drew. Thank you.
Sure, man.
Thanks so much. So I think that's it for all of the folks who had their hands raised. I'll just have a very quick look through the chat pool and see if we missed anything particularly pertinent. Brian Williams had a question.
We got that one. We got Brian,
Okay,
Courtney.
perfect.
We got them all, Zeus, from what I can tell.
Excellent. So then, as far as I'm aware, then, bro, all that was there was just tremendous, great presentation and fabulous job. So yeah, what more can you say?
Thanks, man. Yeah, I really enjoy this work, and I'm happy to help. And feel free to reach out if anybody's got questions or they need something. Just let us know.
Sure. Please post in the group. Drew's going to share a spreadsheet because he was doing some amazing calculations there on the percentile profile of conversions and all that other good stuff around statistical significance of clicks and obviously your ACOS, TACOS, and all that other kind of element that sits around it. Was there anything else? No. Oh, somebody asked if you're going to share the presentation.
Yeah, I'll share the slides. Yeah, for sure. I'll totally share the slides.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'd be delighted. And I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's a wrap, folks. If anybody else has any other questions, like I said, please speak up now, or I think we're good and we can have the call. Sorry, Vivek, did you have a question for us, or you? Okay. Oh, I think he's all good, just to stick to the figure or whatever. Yeah, So thanks so much once again.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for attending. And I think that's a great point to wrap it all up. So thanks so much, Drew.
Thanks, Zeus. Talk to you guys soon. Take care, man.